Good evening, everyone. I am so glad you are joining me tonight. We've got a lot of great questions to go through. We're going to go ahead and get started. So, this first one's actually related to the tremendous amount of rain I think we're getting all across the country. We've actually had about 3 or 4 days now just solid rain. Hopefully tomorrow it's going to dry up for a little bit. Actually, we had a rainbow tonight right before the sun went down. First question is by Kieran Neal, and he asks, does anyone have any good recommendations for rain gear, especially upper full body stuff? Harvesting in the rain is the norm this week, and I'm always getting rain down the back of my pants when I bend over. Not a good situation. I wear bog rain boots, and they just recently gave me a gift card to buy a new pair when my old ones were damaged. Good customer service, and I would recommend them over others. All right, so yeah, when we were in New York, we were upstate, so we had pretty cold temperatures. I mean, in September, we could be in the 40s easily in the morning, and then went by, October, November, you'd be days in the all day in the 40 and just driving rain. So it was just pure nastiness. So we actually had multiple different types of rain gear and to kind of get through the weather, and I'll kind of tell you what we had. So we would always have a pair of like overalls. So, open top, open around the waist, not tight because that would get you too hot. And that would be for the summer rain. Or if you're actually harvesting, let's say broccoli or corn in the early morning when the dew's still on. So, and that you can get those all different brands, but we went with commercial fisherman gear, and that would normally be the Grunyons brand. And I'll list that in the show notes here. And then I really loved my Carhartt rain gear. My Carhartt rain gear was actually insulated, and so they had a Shoreline brand series, which was the jacket and the pants. And these things were just impossible to destroy. They were just rock solid, really excellent quality, heavy duty, insulated. So they were really good for early spring and late fall. The pants weren't great for the summer because they were, again, tight around the waist, and so they kind of get you kind of warm. But that raincoat was something else. Then the pockets, it had, zipper pockets on the inside and the outside, so you could carry plenty of different things. And they were just great. Now, they're not cheap. I think each of them's well over $100 for the top and the bottom. But to me, I still have my pair, and they're going on 12 or 14 years old, and I use them all the time. So definitely worth the extra money. For boots, I would always carry just a cheap pair of tall irrigation boots. And that was obviously for irrigation, and then for early mornings for broccoli and stuff. But then my normal pair was a pair of the Mux Boot Scrub, and so that would be for just general mornings. And you can turn the tops down so they actually get cooler. So that's what we really like, and then we'd switch to tennis shoes midday. So that's kind of what we would have, and then of course we'd always have a really super light. And Carhartt makes a super light, cheap version of a raincoat, just a PVC raincoat, just for midsummer when those few showers pop up, and you just leave those in the trucks. So that's kind of what we did for rain gear. So let's jump back to hope that was helpful. Let's jump to the second question. The second question is, it's from Jesse Slayton, and he said, I'm looking at a quick shade commercial C100 10x10 instant canopy with wall panel. White. Opinions on this tent. Looking for an easy up, decent quality for one market per week. So, Jesse, I haven't used that one. It may be fine. Our experience is we did 3 to 4 farmers markets a week, and we did those 7 months out of the year. So we were at farmers markets a lot every year. And our favorite tent by far, until we actually went to pole tents when we were going probably a 16 by 24 tent, so pretty large tents, was the 10 by 10 Eclipse aluminum from Easy Up. Excuse me. And we would just get those there's a company in California called Easy Up for You, I believe, and I'll put the link below, but they were by far the absolute cheapest. Now these tents are not cheap. They're probably in the $500 to $600 range. But again, we were using them 4 or 5 times a week, even on the farm to do stuff under, and again, bulletproof, really heavy duty. stood up to the abuse we gave them, and they're super light because they're aluminum. So, one person could easily pick it up, and if you know how to do it, one person can actually easily deploy it and set it up by themselves. And I really should probably do a video on that, because that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially our crew did. Always the new people always had a really hard time figuring out how to set Easy up. So I will go ahead at some point, make a video on that, and just upload that. But again, yeah, that's my recommendation on the tents. And you can buy walls for those. You can actually buy gutters for those that go between two tents. So if you put two tents up, usually you have drips down between them. But if you put this gutter on, it goes the entire length of that and actually just shoots the water out the ends. So hope that was helpful. Let's zoom to the next question. The next question is from Suzanne Cooper. And Suzanne asks, the temps are expected to drop down to 32 this weekend. I have potato plants that are 8 inches to a foot tall. Ouch. Should I cover them? I also have beans that are a few inches tall. Any chance they'll make it? Make it if I can't get them covered. Yeah, 32 is no joke, especially with evaporative cooling. You even can be in the high 30s and low 40s and actually get a frost on plants. So you always want to be watching what's going on. So obviously row cover is the best. Depends on how many potatoes you have. It can be great to just cover the whole section. If it's like acres, like we did, you're not going to get it. So what normally we would do would just, they would get burned off. Or sometimes they get burned off, sometimes we make it through, but potatoes will come back. They're, got a great root and a seed that they're taking energy off of, seed potato, so they're going to come back pretty well. One thing is good, it might kill any crabgrass that's there, which would be nice. Beans are a little tougher. They're very, very sensitive. So as many row covers as you can, 2 or 3. If you're going to be in 32 degrees, put 2 to 3 row covers on, you should be fine. One thing we would do with high value crops, so let's say that we put out cucumbers or peppers or something, we had a frost, is we would actually go ahead and put ground cloth over them. And the reason for doing ground cloth is actually much more insulatory. So it's more like a 1 ounce fabric or, a 2 ounce fabric. So they're going to hold a few more degrees of heat in. So that can also be done. But yeah, getting cold's no joke. I mean, another thing people do more on larger scale is run irrigation water on them, and that's the premise is that the water, as it freezes, is giving off heat and actually keeps the area warm enough. So, a couple things you can do there. That's the problem with some of these really super warm springs, is that then you have a late cold snap come in and really damage things. So sometimes even if it's warm enough to plant, you might not want to plant. Again, look at your soil temperatures and see what they're saying. All right, the next question, it's not actually a question, it's a win. So let me see if I can share my screen here. And this is from Nicole Shelley. And Nicole posted pictures of her first prepared salads. And so this is super cool to me because I've been long advocating that farmers be doing more processing. And look how simple this is. These are, paper and like a craft paper, like light cardboard with a clear lid. They're like 30 cents each. I actually researched these containers, and then a little container of dressing in the corner, and then just some greens in there. And so that's definitely something you can get a great markup on, and you can use your seconds on carrots and stuff like that. So that's super cool. But again, way to go, Nicole. This is great, and super excited about what you're doing here. All right, let's shift back here and go to the next question. The next question is from Erica Bernier. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've watched all your posts regarding the rain, and it's making the move to our area again. So here I'm asking for veteran advice. I've just seeded a ton of carrots, beets, and greens, and I'm worried that this forecast will wash them all away. Most of the seeds are in multiple raised beds. What do you all do? Hope and pray? Well, that's always the first line of defense. The one thing being a farmer will make you do is drive you to your knees in prayer. But a couple actually really good things you can do here. So raised beds is great because it gets those crops up and gets them dry. But a couple other things you can do is row cover your beds. So if you row cover your beds, the rain really hits it. You can hit the row cover and break those raindrops apart, not really destroy your ground as much. If you're worried about getting too much rain on there, we've actually gone ahead and we'll actually re-tarp our fields. So we have our tarps on the edges of our fields to solarize and that sort of thing. And if we know we got heavy rain coming, we've got crops that are just seeded, but not up yet. They have to be just seeded. We'll actually go ahead and pull those tarps back over and wait till that rain period goes through and then pull the tarps back off. And it actually can help with germination because it holds the moisture in and it really just, kicks a nice warm environment underneath there. So we actually do that for some of our crops. It will speed up our crops. If you put the white up with a white and black tarp, you can actually cool the soil, so it's actually good for midsummer carrots. So, a couple things you can do, so there's definitely something you can do there. And the last question is, and this is from Drew Alexander, he asked, what is this plant it is growing in with my radishes? So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. And I think this is just an off type for radish too. So it really depends on, what kind of seed you're getting to. And I know some of the more heirloom type, especially I've done the yellow radish they have out. And then the Easter egg, some of the older Easter egg strains did have a lot of off types. And it really depends on your seed company too. So some places I've gotten super cheap seed and been like, oh, super cheap, great. Well, that had a lot more off types. There's a reason that seed is cheaper. So when seed is sold, there may be 4 or 5 farms producing Easter egg seed out there. And, it depends on the germ. The price depends on the germ, the size of the seed, the purity, and that sort of stuff. And generally, obviously look around, but we're also looking at seed count per pound when we're buying our seed. And we want the lowest seed count per pound, which means that the seed is the largest. So, but that's one thing we're looking at. We're just generally looking at the price of seed too. And some of that cheap seed's just not worth it because you'll get a lot of off types. And, think about it, if you have 10% off types in a bed, you're dropping your profit by 10%. And, 10% to 20% is usually your margin on that bed. So you just lost all your margin. So definitely something to think about as you're buying your seeds for the year. But I would think that this is an off type for that. So, all right, that was all for tonight, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night. Go ahead, share this post. If you have any more questions, keep sending them in. I'm really enjoying this this kind of live thing, and this is the 16th day, so we officially passed the halfway part of my month. But I'm going to wrap it up and go ahead, post those links above so you guys can get access to that and find out where we got that gear. And most of it actually just came from Amazon. They're actually relatively competitive on that. But all right, you guys have a great evening and look forward to jumping back on tomorrow.